avarinam towards persons who are not enemies. Srila Prabhupada's translation. All the devotees of the Lord, but you are very kind to the conditioned souls and are eager to benefit others. Although you wear the dress of a devotee, you create enmity with people who are not your enemies, or you break friendship and create enmity between friends. Are you not ashamed of posing as a devotee while performing these abominable actions? You can repeat after me. All the devotees of the Lord, but you are very kind to the conditioned souls and are eager to benefit others. Although you wear the dress of a devotee, you create enmity with people who are not your enemies, or you break friendship and create enmity between friends. Are you not ashamed of posing as a devotee while performing these abominable actions? Srila Prabhupada's purport. Srila Prabhupada ki, such are the criticisms that must be borne by the servants of Narada Muni in the disciplic succession. Through the Krishna consciousness movement, we are trying to train young people to become devotees and return home back to Godhead by following the rigid regulatory principles. But our service is appreciated neither in India nor abroad in the Western countries, where we are endeavoring to spread this Krishna consciousness movement. In India, the caste Brahmanas have become enemies of the Krishna consciousness movement because we elevate foreigners who are supposed to be Malechas and Yamanas to the position of Brahmanas. We train them in austerities and penances and recognize them as Brahmanas by awarding them sacred threads. Thus, the caste Brahmanas of India are very displeased by our activities in the Western world. In the West also, the parents of the young people who join this movement have also become enemies. We have no business creating enemies, but the process is such that non-devotees will always be inimical towards us. Nevertheless, as stated in the Shastras, a devotee should be both tolerant and merciful. Devotees engaged in preaching should be prepared to be accused by ignorant persons, yet they must be very merciful to the fallen conditioned souls. If one can execute his duty in the disciplic succession of Narada Muni, his service surely will be recognized, as the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 18:68-69, Ya idam paramam guyam mad bhakteshu abhigyasate bhaktim mai param khitva mam epasat asam saya na cha tasmad manusheshu kaschid me priya kitama paviti na chad me tasmad anya prayute bhuvi. For one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, devotion service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. Let us continue preaching the message of Lord Krishna and not be afraid of enemies. Our only duty is to satisfy the Lord by this preaching, which will be accepted as a service by Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna. We must sincerely serve the Lord and not be deterred by so-called enemies. In this verse, the word Suridgnam, a breaker of friendship, is used because Narada Muni and the members of his disciplic succession disrupt friendship and family life. They are sometimes accused of being Suridginam, creators of enemy, enmity between relatives. Actually, such devotees are friends of every living entity, Suridam Sarvabhutanam, but they are misunderstood to be enemies. Preaching can be a difficult, thankless task, but a preacher must follow the orders of the Supreme Lord and be unafraid of materialistic persons. Narayana namaskrityam naram cheva narottamam devim saraswatam vyasam tato jayat mudirayat nasta presu bhadresu nityam bhagavati sevayam bhagavati uttama sloke bhakti bhavati nastaki Krishna swadama pagate dharma jnana taba saha kalo nasta disam esha purandaka januditi. So in this there's a very good example in this connection to show how devotees can be the well-wishers of everyone, but people misunderstand them. And in this connection there's a story from Ramayana, Bharat, how although Bharat's mother wanted Ram to be banished to the kingdom and Bharat to be the king, the citizens misunderstood Bharat's situation. They thought Bharat was the cause of Lord Rama's being banished away. And so whilst Bharat was ruling the kingdom, all the Ayodhya Vasis, they were thinking, they were not happy seeing Bharat. So Bharat, just to avoid them and not cause them any misery, he used to wake up 2 o'clock in the morning and take his bath and do his puja and everything. And he used to live in humble circumstances. I think Bharat was eating cow urine, put in cow dung, eating very simple, rice, very simple. He wasn't eating like normal. And he was living in a hut. He put Lord Ram's shoes on the throne, and he was living in very simple surroundings. And he was guiding the citizens who were thinking that they were thinking Bharat is his enemy. They were thinking like that, but still Bharat used to give them compassion and used to guide them. So the same thing can be shown to, example can be of the Krishna consciousness movement, how devotees are spreading Krishna consciousness, they're trying to help people become Krishna conscious, but people are not open to that and they go against devotees. But we should have faith that Krishna will protect us, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata abhyuta nama dharmasya gyan tadame sajami aham. Whenever there's a decline in religious principles, at that time I descend and I destroy the miscreants and re-establish religious principles and protect the devotees. And parikrajna sarunam vinasha duskitam dharma samstapanaya sambhamami yuge yuge. Krishna comes to protect the devotees, that's his main purpose of coming, to protect the devotees and give pleasure to the devotees. Because Krishna can destroy the demons in many ways. He can just create a hurricane or create some disease. People can be finished very easy. But the main purpose of Krishna's coming is to give pleasure to the devotees, because they're in separation of Krishna, so Krishna comes to give pleasure to them. That's his main purpose. So actually, when spreading Krishna consciousness, if there's no opposition, then people will not accept it so easy. If something is easily accepted, people will not take it seriously. So when there's an opposition to accept something, that means that people are indirectly accepting it. It makes them think about this this Krishna consciousness, what it's all about. And the example is in Russia, when devotees were spreading Krishna consciousness, they were putting concentration camps and putting torture in jails and so many things. They would put drugs into them. But devotees carried on spreading Krishna consciousness. And because of that endeavor, now we see Russia's so many devotees. Like so many devotees are coming from Russia. Like I heard in Vrindavan there is 10,000 devotees staying in Russia. And there's also many Russian devotees in Govardhan. They're buying a place near Govardhan now. Also Jagannath Puri, Russian devotees. So we can see how Krishna has his plan, how he, like Prabhupada said one time to Giriraj Maharaj, that I have my plan, you have your plan, and Krishna has his plan. So, like Prabhupada said in the purport, we should have faith in Krishna. We should have faith and carry on with the preaching mission. And we'll be guaranteed to get the mercy of the Lord. So, there's a few examples. There's a few examples to show how how Krishna protects his devotees. So, there was when I went to the Govardhan retreat, they had a seminar on different topics, and there's one Adi Purush Prabhu. He's a disciple of Gopal Krishna Maharaj. He gave talks on the importance of building up our relationship with Krishna. So, he mentioned some interesting points. So he said, Krishna is fair and he is an ocean of mercy. But as long as we maintain about Krishna not being fair, not full of mercy, one will find it difficult to surrender to Krishna. This is by Balada Bhushan. He quotes this point. So we should always have be honest with Krishna. And Jai Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan Ki Jai. We should be always honest with Krishna, then Krishna will guide us more and more. And so he gave a story on this. There was one devotee in Russia. He was put in a concentration camp, and the enemies, they were trying to provoke him. He considered that if I don't retaliate their provocation, I just tolerate it, then they will leave me alone. So he was doing like this, he was digging holes, tolerating the provocation. And these enemies, they thought this person is different from the rest of the people. We should just let him go. So as he was going, he met the devotees. Then he became a devotee. So that shows how Krishna is guiding everything. He guided these people to leave that devotee alone, and then he became a devotee. And there was another Srimad Bhagavtam Rita Maharaj. He said he gave a class in Vrindavan. He gave a interesting so he said so he spoke on Srimad Bhagavatam 7:9-20, and he explained how according to the purport everything is directed according to one's mentality by the Lord. A non-devotee does not know that he is in Maya. But as soon as one becomes a devotee, one can realize that he is always in Maya. If one can see like this, he is making advancement in Krishna consciousness. So then he tells an interesting story. He says there was a sannyasi disciple. He had difficulty in following the regular principles. So he wrote a letter to Srila Prabhupada that he found it difficult to practice Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada wrote back saying, I know that you are an intelligent boy. If you find it difficult to be renounced, then get yourself married and contribute to the activities of Krishna consciousness movement. Do not become a foolish karmi. In the material world, exploitation is there, but when one takes to Krishna consciousness, one takes shelter of Krishna, who will not exploit one. So then the leaders of the ISKCON movement in those times, in the early years, they asked Prabhupada a question. The leaders in ISKCON in the early days asked Srila Prabhupada, why are you initiating disciples if they are leaving? Srila Prabhupada replied, at least they are vegetarian. So the leaders did not ask again. So they didn't ask Prabhupada the question again. One devotee went on book distribution, met devotees who had left Srila Prabhupada's shelter. This devotee told that Srila Prabhupada's disciple what Srila Prabhupada said. That devotee came back to Srila Prabhupada's shelter. So that shows how so these examples are showing how it's only by the mercy of devotees one can practice Krishna consciousness. And there's an example in this connection, like even if you're working outside, it's not like you can work with your own strength. You have to have mercy from people around you. With the mercy of people around you, then you can carry on in your life. On your own, you can't do it by yourself. In the same way, in Krishna consciousness, one has to have mercy from other devotees to carry on in his practice. One cannot do it with his own strength. So, now, one may question, like, why is it difficult? Krishna consciousness is an easy process, because if you analyze being in the outside world, to break the four regular principles, it requires money, without money you can't break the four principles. But to practice Krishna consciousness, you just come to a temple, you associate with devotees, chanting, dancing, feasting, you take prasadam, you read the scriptures, you preach. Very blissful process. So the reason why people don't take to it, because they want to, there's two things. That one is, one wants to try and become like Krishna, and the other thing is he wants to lord it over nature. Now, one may be in ignorance, that person can be awakened very easy. It's not difficult to wake that person up. Once he gets proper knowledge, proper understanding, then he'll come to Krishna consciousness. We had an instance in Bhaktivedanta Mana one time. One boy joined the temple, and his goal was to become Krishna. So Bhakti, I think Bhakti Rasamita Maharaj, he was there at that time, and he found out about this. So he asked the devotee in charge of the ashram at that time to speak with his boy. Then once they found out his purpose, they asked him to leave the ashram. Because I questioned one senior Mataji, she's staying in Mayapur now, Sri Prabhupada disciple. I asked her, what happens to someone who wants to become Krishna? What will be their destination? So she said, they'll get their head cut off. Same with Pundrak, right? Pundrak was thinking the same thing. That he wrote a letter to Krishna, message. He sent a messenger to Krishna saying that you're the false Vasudeva, give me your weapons. So what did Krishna do? He cut his head off. So like this we can see how surrender is easy. It's not difficult to surrender to Krishna. It's just we maintain our stubborn nature. Some people want to maintain their conditioning. They want to be in the material world and also practice spiritual life. So then it becomes very difficult. It's like going on a boat across the river, having two legs on separate boats. Not possible. So spiritual life and being in the material world is not possible at the same time. So there was one in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time. There was one person, he's disciple of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Hegiri Prabhu. He went to, they were having a big program somewhere where many dignitaries came, leaders. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur told, because some of his followers came from college to the program, and he asked this devotee to go and find out the teacher, bring the teacher along. So he went, and this teacher, he didn't believe in Krishna, he didn't believe in... So he told Hegiri Prabhu, if you can prove that your Bhagwan is there, then may consider coming. So Hegiri Prabhu challenged him. He said, how much can you see behind the wall? In the place there, he said, how much can you see behind the wall? So he said, with my instruments, I can find out something. So Hegiri Prabhu challenged, he said, but how much can you see with your instruments? You're limited. And then he asked him, he said, you're a teacher, you teach your students about science and philosophy, and how long does it take them to become a person like you, a teacher? How long does it take? And he said 5 years. So he said, Hegiri Prabhu told him, well, you should give in India, the great sages and acharyas, they gave in their teachings. And through their writings, if you study them, then you can understand that how God is there, Krishna is there. Scientific process. So you should be open to that. And the teacher, he admitted, he said, well, I don't know much about Krishna, but he admitted his weakness. So that shows that Prabhupada said in his lectures on the 16th chapter, he said, if one wants to forget Krishna, then Krishna will arrange in such a way that that person will forget him forever. And if one wants to think of Krishna, then Krishna will arrange in different ways how that person can come to him. So there's so in the Srimad Bhagavtam, 3rd canto, chapter 32, text 40, Prabhupada gives 4 categories of people. He lists them, why they don't take to Krishna consciousness. So, and by understanding these categories of people, then you can analyze and see how to not waste your time with them. So Prabhupada says, persons who are always planning to do harm to other living entities are not eligible to understand Krishna consciousness and cannot enter into the realm of transcendental loving service to the Lord. Also, there are so-called disciples who become submissive to a spiritual master artificially with an ulterior motive. They also cannot understand Krishna consciousness or devotional service. Persons who, due to being initiated by another sect of religious faith, do not find devotional service as a common platform for approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead, also cannot understand Krishna consciousness. We have experienced that some students come to join us, but because of being biased in some particular type of faith, they leave our camp and become lost in the wilderness. Actually, Krishna consciousness is not a sectarian religious faith. It is a teaching process for understanding the Supreme Lord and our relationship with Him. Anyone can join this movement without prejudice. But unfortunately, there are persons who feel differently. It is better, therefore, not to instruct in the science of Krishna consciousness such persons. Generally, materialistic persons are after some name, fame and material gain. So if someone takes to Krishna consciousness for these reasons, he will never be able to understand this philosophy. Such persons take to religious principles as a social decoration. They admit themselves into some cultural institution for the sake of name only, especially in this age. Such persons also cannot understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Even if one is not greedy for material possessions, but is too attached to family life, he also cannot understand Krishna consciousness. Superficially, such persons are not very greedy for material possessions, but they are too attached to wife, children and family improvement. When such person is not contaminated by the above-mentioned faults, and at the ultimate issue is not interested in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or he is a non-devotee, he also cannot understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So we can see how being a devotee means you have to be like a doctor. A doctor never gets affected in the hospital. He is treating the patients, but he doesn't get affected in the hospital. So devotee also means that in the same way you have to be like a doctor, to treat the patients you are coming in touch with and find out what level of disease they're facing. In this way you can help them. There was one instance with Srila Prabhupada, how one time Prabhupada was walking on a morning walk somewhere, and this was in America, I think, and this one person, he used to capture people by his staring at them. When he used to look at people, he used to capture their minds and bring them under his control. So he was thinking he can do this with Srila Prabhupada. So when Prabhupada went on the morning walk, this person was following Prabhupada. So as Prabhupada was walking, this person was walking behind. Prabhupada looked at him all of a sudden and he felt very small. Then he became a devotee after that. And there was another instance with Srila Prabhupada, how he was walking somewhere and this man was in the car. He wasn't opening his window. The window was dark. It was a dark window. And Prabhupada said hello he said good morning to him. And at some point this man opened the window and he smiled. And in Bhaktivedanta Mana, we have the village just nearby. So the devotees asked Srila Prabhupada that why don't you say Hare Krishna to the villagers? So Prabhupada says, better I say good morning. Because if they say good morning to me, they'll benefit from that. If I say Hare Krishna, they think that I'm trying to impose them. So like this, we have to be expert in giving Krishna consciousness to others. And so I'll just briefly speak on the associates of the Lord who disappeared. So today is Mahesh Pandit's disappearance, right? Mahesh Pandit, eternal associate of Lord Nityananda. In Krishna Lila, he is Mahabandhu Saka. He was present in the D. Sharma Mahotsav. Narottam Das Thakur came to Khanda at that time. He met with Mahesh Pandit. Next one is Udaran Thakur. So Udaran Thakur also eternal associate of Lord Nityananda in Krishna Lila. He was Subhak Shaka, right? Subhak Shaka. His father's name is Shikara Datta and mother's name is Bhadravati. He was a minister under the king of Nohiti Gram. When Lord Nityananda came to Triveni, at that time he stayed in Udara Datta's house. At that time he served Lord Nityananda directly. By his mercy, all the businessmen took shelter of Lord Nityananda. Soon after, all these businessmen started the Sankirtan movement. When the people saw that the businessmen are doing Sankirtan bhajan, they were shocked, and at that time they took shelter of Lord Nityananda. Any comments or questions? Mic is coming. Mic is coming.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Please. Hare Krishna. Dandat Pranam.
Jai Shri Radha Madan Mohan. ki jai, Krishna Balram Gaunitai ki jai.
Like you were mentioning, there was a devotee in Manor who wanted to be Krishna.
Yeah,
So you asked one of the senior Mataji in Mayapur that what would be his destination. So
No, this Mataji she was in England at that time.
okay. Then like she told like his heads will be chopped off. Like just like Pondraka. But if we see from Krishna book, the pastimes of Pondraka, though Pondraka was killed by Krishna, but he attained Sarupya Mukti.
Yeah.
Because all the time he was meditating on Krishna.
Well, the thing is with Pundrak, in order to get that form, because he had the symbols of Vishnu on him, right? Now, in order to get that, he pleased Lord Shiva. In 10th canto Bhagavatam, it explains that in order to get that benediction of having the forms of Vishnu on him, he got the blessing of Lord Shiva. So in this way, he got Krishna's mercy. So that's one of the blessing of, is Lord Shiva was merciful, right? Ashutosh. So, and he was thinking of Krishna all the time, thinking of Krishna, killing Krishna. But there's a difference, like Kamsa was always thinking of killing Krishna. His mind was absorbed in Krishna all the time. But if someone is trying to imitate Krishna, but he's not strong enough like these demons were, then he won't last. Isn't it? In order to get that status of becoming enemy of Krishna, like Kamsa and Pundraka, you have to do so much austerity, Easy to become a devotee of the Lord, easier. Isn't it? And with this particular devotee, they found certain things were like not correct in the way he was behaving, So then obviously investigation went on and they found out his motivation. Then they asked him to leave the ashram. So, in other words, you can judge someone by their speech and their actions, behavior and dealings. So, even Pundrak, he sent four Akshainis of armies to fight with Krishna, isn't it? He sent some, yeah. But obviously, Krishna, he got Krishna's direct presence, so he got purified. But he says that his followers didn't get purified. His followers went to hell. But somehow, because he got Lord Shiva's mercy of having these symbols of Vishnu on him, he got Sarupa Mukti. He went to Vaikuntha. So that shows by getting the mercy of an advanced devotee, even though one may not be perfect in his practices, but the mercy of an advanced devotee, one can still achieve perfection. Is that okay? Any other questions, comments? Okay, on that side.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for wonderful class. Dhananjay Pandit Prabhu has one question. He is saying that here in the scriptures, we are seeing Daksha is blaspheming Narad Muni and we are hearing that blasphemy. So, will we be liable for Vaishnava offense by hearing this? He is asking like.
I didn't hear. Can you say again?
Daksha is blaspheming Narad Muni and we are hearing that blasphemy. We are reading that or hearing that. So, is it Vaishnava offense like he's?
Nah. This is a Leela. Krishna orchestrates Leelas to teach us lessons. I mean, Daksha is not an ordinary, like Guru Maharaj said, he's not an ordinary. His position is higher than a demigod's. And he's like in Mahaprabhu's Leela, the Ramachandra Puri, he says these are like eternal associates who take on different they take different positions to enhance Krishna's pastimes. But they're not affected like we are, because they're doing it for teaching lessons to the conditioned souls. If you read the book Gondaraj Dipika by Kavi Karnapur, it explains in there that all these associates, they were like different devotees who they participated in Mahaprabhu's Leela. So he says Ramachandra Puri was Jyotila and Vibhishan. But they did this pastime too, and Ramachandra Puri was famous for criticizing Mahaprabhu for eating too much. But they're doing these pastimes to teach us lessons. So they don't get it's not an offense to hear these stories. It's purifying, so you can learn how to avoid offenses yourself. Okay.
Thank you.
It's okay. Anything else? Antaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sri Prabhupada ki jai.